And we are back with another episode of the Hockey Princess podcast. I am your host, the Hockey Princess. We have Crusty Old Guy here again. Just as a reminder, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. I keep blanking out Amazon Music. I keep blanking on the other ones that we're on now too. And if you are going to a game this season, be it the NHL, the AHL, the ECHL with our friends down in Indy college game, please wait for the whistle. Do not get up while the puck's in play. Please wait for a stoppage in play to resume and get back to your seat. Let's get into it. Got some
Okay.
NHL world things going on. Austin Matthews is expected to return back to the Toronto Maple Leafs next week, and they've got Max Domi a little bit with I believe, a lower body injury. So they're having an in and out, constant open door of guys coming in and out of their injured reserve for the beginning of this season. And that just shows you how much I really don't pay attention about other teams because I didn't even know Austin Matthews was hurt. But
yes, he is. He is hurt, and the thing that's quite amazing to everybody is how well the Toronto Maple Leafs play when Austin Matthews is out. So something to think about. I mean, not that they won't re-sign him again and again and again, but their record is much better with him out of the lineup. And I believe the last 2 years with him being out, their goals against is like almost a whole goal difference. So obviously they're worried that they won't have the goal production and play better defense. So maybe they can just decide to play better defense.
Nah, Toronto can't do that.
Well,
that would be silly. That would change the whole playoff structure.
It would. We'll see if they ever understand that. But yeah, it was a weird tidbit that I heard on the way to work.
Very interesting. Other interesting news. We've got Jim Montgomery out of the head coach for the Boston Bruins. Very interesting. I know Boston hasn't had the best of starts. Not sure if this was if it's an on ice thing or if it's they've tried everything on ice and just the next thing to go is the head coach. But very kooky. Was not expecting it for Boston.
Oh, heck no. It's that is something that is just absolutely crazy. I've been hearing little digs about a leadership problem. I don't know exactly what that means, but that's a veteran team.
Right.
With, granted, younger kids. Hold on. My dog needs to come in. Hi, Rue. I'm here. But basically, the crazy thing is if you go from your 2023 Jack Adams award winners, the top three have all been fired. No, have all been fired. That's your Lindy Ruff, the guy from the Kraken, and now Montgomery. So if that doesn't tell you right off the get-go that this business is just nasty, it's crazy. Nobody sticks around long term.
No.
What's actually going on there? I mean, they're a team that at some point in time is going to go on the decline. I think it's starting a little bit. And they'd like to attempt to right the ship, I guess, but I don't know if that's going to help. I would assume Montgomery is snatched up by somebody quickly. No, it will not be us.
Come on. Mainly just because I want a different name because I don't want Cooper coming to the Blackhawks anytime soon, and that's the one that's constantly circulating. Oh, come on. That would be fun.
No, Cooper is not coming to the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are the worst team in hockey. There's nobody really coming here.
Fair enough.
But as you start talking about coaches on the hot seat, you can definitely look at the Dead Wings as maybe his next stop.
That is a thing. Will Lalonde be next? Very interesting. Very interesting. A lot of people are, there was already some decent speculation of the Yzer plan, but I definitely think if they were to fire Lalonde, and depending on the next coach that they bring in, if they were to fire him, I think there would be even more eyes on the Yzer plan.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the Yzer plan is what? We're on year 8 or something like that, and you haven't made the playoffs. People get fed up. I don't care how many cups you won them when you played, and supposedly what you built in Tampa. You're not getting it done here.
Yeah.
So again, they've had plenty of time to lose, then get draft picks, then sign people. So the next one after that is, if it's still not working, is to fire the coach.
Yeah.
So I would assume if they're not in a playoff slot by Christmas, I would assume he's gone.
Could Jim Montgomery go to the Dead Wings?
I think so. He would be a nice stopgap. He's a seasoned veteran coach.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to bring anybody new. You'd like an old retread just because it's mid-season. They kind of know how to do this stuff on the fly a little bit better. But I don't want to speculate yet. But I mean, Montgomery's another retread who's never completely shined anywhere, but is not a bad coach.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. And, it's weird that Boston just kept everything in-house and just promoted people. So, again, something that's weird. It's that classic.
We're very familiar with that here.
Yes, that all of a sudden you think these kids are all just going to get along with him because he might have coached them as kids. But, again, we'll see.
We shall see. Couple of other news. We've got JT Miller from the Vancouver Canucks. It was announced that he is on indefinite leave for personal reasons. We're not going to speculate it. We're just reporting that he is out for the foreseeable future for the Vancouver Canucks.
We're not going to speculate at all.
We're not speculating.
At all?
No.
Not even what I've heard?
What have you heard?
Okay, see, now we're speculating. It is non-alcohol or drug related.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I have heard. That it is not a substance abuse issue.
Yeah.
Anything else we will not speculate on. How about that?
Fair enough. Final news is we got Wayne Gretzky paying the Utah Hockey Club to take out Ovi the week after we start talking about his record. Guys, Alexander Ovechkin is now week to week with a lower body injury. There was a knee-on-knee collision with McBain with the Washington Capitals game versus the Utah Hockey Club. No, Gretzky did not play Utah, but looking a little suspicious, especially because he was on track to beat Gretzky's record in less games than it took Gretzky to get to that point amount. So we don't know when Ovi's coming back. He's on week to week. It's very sad.
Okay, I'm trying to follow along with you, but my doggie is really missing me.
I was going to say, can we get a Rutu?
She's now hiding underneath the table. Let's see if we can't show the Rutu. Oh, there she goes. Nope, she took off.
On Rutu Day.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Fair enough. You got anything in the NHL world?
Oh, I don't know. Do you want to go over Ryan Reeves real quick or no? Don't care?
Oh, yeah. Ryan Reeves only got 5 games when he should have gotten 25 games on a hit on Darnell Nurse during the Toronto versus Edmonton game. I understand that, Canada versus Canada is going to get very heated. Ryan Reeves I'm not the biggest fan of him, I will admit, but he has a track record of stepping over the line when it comes to being physical and actually doing substantial damage to people. I mean, he's on Toronto for that reason of to do some damage, but he very much just likes to jump over the line, and that's my main issue with him. Um, there were, debates whether it was a clean hit, whether it was a dirty hit. Yes, Darnell Nurse is not looking in Reeves' direction whatsoever. He's focused. I really didn't get a good angle on where Darnell was looking, but it wasn't in Reeves' direction. Whether his head was up or like just looking the other way, I really couldn't tell. My biggest issue is Reeves looks like he's jumping up to make head contact. Both of the skates leave the ice. He doesn't full like chicken wing stick his arm out like Jacob Trouba loves to do, but there's definitely motion of intending to make contact. And that's my biggest issue with the hit.
Well, for me, the only point of contact is the head.
Yeah,
that's the only place he hits him. So yeah, there's been something. The elbow doesn't come up completely. He doesn't completely leave his feet. But that head is out there.
Both skates do leave the ice.
Huh?
Both skates do leave the ice.
Right, but not before the hit. I don't believe. I believe that's the follow through from the hit, which usually happens. Again, the point of contact can't be the head. What does that mean? That means you have to pull up a little bit. It's just the way it is. I've mentioned many times that a player needs to understand their part in this as far as defending and getting ready for a hit. But he's just turning his head. He's looking to where he's going to be passing next. And if he hits any other part of the body first, I'm fine. But it's the only thing he hits is the head, and it's Ryan Reeves. I would have given him more than 5 just because there's no need for it in the game. So.
Well, and I was talking with a couple of people when the suspension thing came out, and I kind of just wish that suspensions were more normalized in the NHL and were more of a common occurrence and weren't he got suspended. You should get suspended for stuff like that. You should get suspended for more games. I would love to even see it tiered, like we have with the I believe it's the breach of the Players Association. It's why Nichushkin's not out or not playing for a while. You're out for a couple of games. You do something like this again that causes suspension. You're out even more games, and it just continues. Because there's certain players that have the history and have a track record of kind of jumping over that line. And a fine or a 5-game suspension, there's no real lasting consequence. They don't care. They've been doing it for years.
I'm not going to completely go with that. That's something that happens into a heat of a game at a very fast pace. You're talking about somebody making life decisions that they know they're not supposed to be doing. That's pretty well placed out for them. This is during the game, so I don't quite agree with that.
I understand it's in the heat of the game, but I'm saying for individuals who have racked up quite a few 5-game suspensions for maybe head hits or maybe just outright dirtier hits or dirtier plays, it's more than just in the heat of the moment because you have a pattern.
Right. And, the NHL basically states, well, we do look into that. We do look into past conduct. I agree with you. It's like a lot of the other things in the NHL. Everything just kind of willy-nilly done. And it all depends. There was a hit in tonight's Vegas-Toronto game that, I don't know, the people from Toronto were going nuts. White Cloud, they said, left his feet, came up with an elbow, didn't even get a penalty. So I have not seen the hit yet. But that's the problem with the NHL, right? It's like it varies from here to there. Again, I will always state that the other little problem is just it's so fast. And then we look at this stuff in slow motion.
Right.
And these guys can't stop that quick. They just can't. So it's like you're almost you're almost attempting to judge his intent without positively knowing his intent. Does he have time to pull up? You think maybe, but there's a gray line where you're not sure. So they try to do that, and the Players Association is always going to say, you don't suspend anybody. I mean, Players Association, they're taking that as much as it's weird that their players are getting hurt. The first thing they want is to make sure everybody gets paid their full amount, that nobody doesn't get paid. So it's a lot of wacky stuff that's never going to be completely said. I understand everybody's frustration on it, and especially when it's your player that either gets hurt or gets the penalty.
Yeah,
you tend to react differently because God, the announcers for Toronto were going nuts. It was crazy. So, but is that going to stop a guy like Ryan Reeves? I don't know. Maybe they've done a good job of getting most of this out of the game. Mm-hmm. It's not near where it was 10 to 12 years ago. No. So that's progress to me.
Yeah. Okay. NHL world, or should we get into our stuff?
No, I don't think I have anything. I'm not incredibly prepared this week. I know your fan base will be shocked and amazed, but sorry, it's just the way it goes sometimes.
It's fine. It's fine. Let's get into our people. We got our prospect report. Starting off with a man that we really haven't heard much of or seen much of for a couple of weeks, and that is your Oliver Moore, with 2 assists and 1 goal this past weekend for University of Minnesota. We've got Aiden Thompson for Denver University with 2 goals and 1 assist. Sasha Boisvert with 1 goal. Dominic James for University of Minnesota Duluth. We've got 1 goal from Connor Kelly from Providence College. A goal from Ryan Green, Boston University. Ty Henry with 1 assist. Alex Ferrand, 2 goals and 1 assist. I'm saving the best for last, so I got to jump over one name. Jack Pridham with his first week of the Kitchener Rangers in the OHL with 3 assists and 1 goal. Roman Kantsarov, who we really haven't talked about a ton, just because this past weekend was his 8th game back in the KHL for this season. He had shoulder surgery over the summer, and so he's just been recovering from that. Had 1 goal and a couple of assists over the weekend. The goal was a little kooky because he has the puck, he shoots it, it hits the other guy in the head, the guy goes down, he gets his own rebound, and he puts it in the net. Very weird. And last, but certainly not least, one of Crusty Old Guy's favorites. We've got the Lardass with matching hat tricks and 1 assist for each game this weekend for the Brantford Bulldogs. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's been the one thing, is some of our prospects haven't been doing all that incredible. Lardass has really lit things up. He is definitely giving us hope. At least they'll have somebody who can put the puck in the net.
Absolutely.
He's been on fire.
And then speaking of the Brantford Bulldogs, we got an update from one of Krusty's sources that Merrick Vanacker should be back about December. Did he say it was?
Yes, mid-December.
Mid-December, as we remember, he was just recovering from surgery over the summer. So it's been a little bit. There is Ruutu, guys. We have Ruutu.
That's Ruutu sitting there looking at me, wondering why she's not being played with. What am I doing in somebody else's room, not paying attention to her? This is what I get on a daily basis, people. I know. Most of you people don't care. Sorry. But I'm getting a stare down from Ruutu. Tomorrow I'll get another one.
I know.
Okay, I've derailed that portion of the show.
That's fine. So yeah, a lot of prospects doing a lot of things this weekend, but most importantly, the Lardass. We have some Rockford to talk about now. Because, guys, Crusty finally went to another Rockford game because apparently he can't watch it on TV and has to see it live.
Well, yes, I think at certain point in times, I can't give a complete observation unless I see the game live. There's only so much you get on television. I was actually talking to somebody about that yesterday at the game. Met my woman's a friend of hers from work and her husband, and I forget that all I got to do for fans is get them to a game. Once I can get them to a game, usually they'll be hooked. But there's just so much more that you can watch being there. So, and again, as we had talked about on your last show, that we're getting a lot of bad reports from Rockford. So, kind of needed to go and see if there's some problems down there.
And there are. Would you like to talk about those problems?
And well, there are some problems. They're not a very good team.
No,
that's bad. Again, the game I went to, NASCAR was called away for a family reason, so he did not play. They won 3-2, but that's a sloppy team that struggles to pass the puck, struggles to receive their passes. It was a little depressing. Luckily for Rockford, Double A is now hurt.
Out 4 to 6 weeks.
Because he was then centering the third line, who was, I thought, basically Rockford's best line heading into everything. And the third line looked disjointed. You've got
to put the best friends back together.
Yeah, and you had Anthony C. just cherry picking, meaning he's leaving his responsibilities and just waiting by the other blue line. But they looked very unskilled, and not very structured. As I said, they won, but the players that I'm looking at did not look all that good. Again, Comesso didn't play in net. I don't know why. And then the next game that we also saw, he didn't play in net. So I don't know what was going on with that either. I don't know if they're trying to reset him after a couple of rough starts or whatever, but it was a little depressing. Korchinski and Artie need a lot of work. I will agree with some of the things I'm hearing about Core. He does look more aggressive. And he's jumping up a little bit better, but at times he still looks confused, and at times he's still just losing those one-on-one battles. But he doesn't seem to be sitting back doing nothing like he did with the big club. So that's progress. Again, I need more defensively from him, and he's able to move the puck up ice, but he's unable to do anything with it. And that just might take time also.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it was a little depressing. We've kind of told your listeners that this was going to be a really fun team to watch.
Hey, we didn't promise that they would be good. We promised it would be entertaining.
Yeah, I think I promised a little bit that they would be good. So I'm going to take that back for a second. Let's see where we're at after. Let's talk again right before Christmas and see where this team is at. Again, I think it's a good thing that Double A got hurt. He just doesn't fit in there with this kid movement. So, and again, I did not get to see NASCAR play, so there's no report on him either. But that's about it. Weeks did not look bad in that either. So, and again, they did win, but I didn't like the way they looked. So that's my Rockford report. But I was able to go to the new casino, and it is a lovely place. I would tell any of your listeners to head on out there. It's brand new. It's super clean. The clientele is fantastic. I was able to play little craps, listen to some music after the game, and play little craps before the game. It's fantastic. So I recommend that highly.
All right. Well, at least you got to see them win because I went to the game on Sunday and they did not. Rockford fell to Chicago Wolves 4-0. That is a very bad team they're playing against. When Chicago scored the first goal, that was the first time that they had a lead at home this season. So it was very bad. It was a slow start. You had no Paul Ludwinski and no Frank Nazar because Frank Nazar was still out for personal reasons. I know there were a lot of people speculating, thinking that Rockford just had him out for an extended period of time, thinking he was going to get called up for Tuesday's game. That was not the case. They clarified that shortly before puck drop. Weeks was in net. You had Double A centering the first line. He still was playing because he got injured during the match against Chicago. He was your top line center. Not a fan of it. I understand that bringing him down, trying to like hopefully get some confidence, some sort of something going with him because he just simply wasn't playing hockey with the big kids. But I agree with Crusty. It looks very disjointed. They are not disciplined whatsoever. I would fully be okay with a change in coaching down in Rockford. The whole thing, because there's not a component that looks good. It all looks sloppy. It looks lazy.
Yeah. From all of my people, that what you're talking about, the coaching, that's getting louder and louder.
Because I think there's a difference between, their kids and they're just playing. I think there's a difference between you're losing because you're playing at a higher level and you just simply need to catch up, and not being structured and not being disciplined and just playing outright lazy.
Yes. And again, for me, the laziness has always been about the blue lines. You're too lazy and not committed enough to get it out of your zone, which at times means taking an extra hit. You've got to hold the puck an extra second to get your lane open. And also holding onto the puck a little bit more so you can get it in deep, which usually means taking a hit. That is lazy, undisciplined hockey. But you are also now at a point where we've been talking about how Rockford is going to be challenging for Calder Cups and everything. And you're starting to really send a message that losing's okay.
Yeah.
That's got to end. So I don't think he's on the hot seat yet. But if they don't get anything straightened out by Christmas, and if the big club continues the path that I don't see them not continuing, something's going to be done.
Yeah.
All levels. Again, I will go on record for saying I do not think that this organization, with their unbelievable handling of the pickle, is why the pickle is where he is right now.
No, the pickle was
I don't think that he matured himself down in Rockford. I think that was a good player already.
Yeah.
Had he been up with the big club, his maturation would have been almost the same. So, and I don't see anybody else who's making great strides. Again, I didn't get to see NASCAR play, so I'd like to make one more trip just to get to see him, because no matter what, he's putting the puck in the net. Or no, he did play when I was there.
I was going to say, he was not.
He was there. And he still didn't impress me, but he scored a goal.
Yeah.
But it was on a 5-on-3 off a deflection that the goaltender basically put in by himself.
Well, he had a great game last night, so we'll get there in a moment, because he did have quite a great game on Tuesday versus Texas. But getting back to Sunday's game, like I said, I'm fully ready for a whole sweep of the coaching down in Rockford, just because all around it just doesn't look good. And I do agree with you. Vlasic was going to be a great player. And I also think you can't judge a coaching staff as a whole because of one player that turned out well.
No. And again, the effort against the Wolves, I mean, that's a team that played the night before. And then they came back and played a day game the next day.
Yeah.
And still whomped their ass. That's unheard of. That was the worst team in the league.
It is the worst team in the league. And also, everyone that scored, it was either their first or second goal of the season. I will say, third line still looked pretty disjointed, but that's because Paul Ludwinski was not playing. Once again, I'd like coaching gone because put the third line back together. Doesn't make sense to move them around. It works. So why scramble it? The only thing that I will say is I haven't been unimpressed. Like I think it's very good. It's not great, but I liked where the penalty kill has looked for Rockford. I think it looked pretty good on Sunday. Maybe I'm just biased because Savoie is on the top penalty kill unit, but it hasn't left me scared. That's probably one of the only few good things about Sunday's game. A lot of lines scrambling throughout the game. Defensemen looked just absolutely lost. Nobody really looked great whatsoever. The one thing that I will say about Artie is, yes, he needs work. We knew this. He's not a bust because he's struggling right now. He is so much better off struggling and learning in Rockford this year than not being challenged whatsoever back at Michigan State if he went back for another year. He's so much better off to learn things at the next level.
Oh, yeah, just from the pure standpoint of he's going to play twice as many games.
Exactly.
I mean, just simply with that. No, it was not a good game for Cora or Artie. I believe they each had a nice, what we'll start maybe even calling the Wyatt Kaiser screen of their own goaltender. Artie's a raw talent. So I guess your listeners do need to understand he's been in North America for 2 years, 2 seasons. And in Belarus, it's not like you were getting coached up like crazy.
Right.
So his talents are raw. His development is still raw. We'll talk again mid-season next year.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you thought he was a plug-and-play guy because physically he is the part, mentally and game-wise he is not the part.
And I think top three, regardless of the year, with some exceptions, we do have some exceptions, but regardless of the year, being a top 3 draft pick does not mean that you are immediately plug and play ready to go.
Oh, no, and it definitely not somebody who's a defenseman.
Yeah.
Makar even went 2 years to college. And that's an exceptional talent. Yeah. No, these things take time. Everything takes a little time. The only thing I noticed about Rockford now that it's just sad because I thought NASCAR didn't play, that can tell you what I thought of his performance. And if I can get into that for a second.
Sure.
You sure?
Go for it, because I'm about to cancel you right out with Texas's game. So go for it.
Well, I'm going to use somebody from Texas. What I look for when I'm going to a Rockford game is the big club. We need top 6 talent. Mm-hmm. And I believe going to any AHL game, you'll be able to tell the top 6 talent. Just watching them, all of a sudden, they'll catch your eye twice in the first period. Then in the second period, you're writing down this guy's number from the other team, going, who is he? That's basically what I did with Rope Hintz, his first year in Texas. We went and saw them a couple times. And before the first game that I saw him was done, I knew his name and his number because you just noticed him so much. Mm-hmm. There's nobody on Rockford that does that. Okay. I've got really only two players that I kind of notice, and that's NASCAR and Savoy. Okay. That's not good because at the end of the day, I'm worried that probably neither is a top 6 talent. It's hard to find.
I don't think we expected, as much as I love Savoy, and I will defend his playing. That was not the expectation. That is not his type of game, is to be a top 6.
No, but it is NASCAR's.
Yeah.
So, again, I know NASCAR had a big game tonight, or last night or tonight? Last night. So there's still room. He's at the beginning, but I would like to, if everybody can, just pump the brakes a little bit on him needing to come up to the big club. I don't believe that's the right answer because if he comes up, I guarantee they play him at wing. There's no way they can throw him into playing him at center. I just think it stunts anything. Let him. I want to see him dominate. I'd like to see the second half of the season where I go to a game and I go, holy shit, who's that? Who's that 90? Who is 90?
91.
Well, I know who 90 is. But who's that 91 guy? Yeah. That's what I'm looking for from him. And until then, there is no reason to bring him up. He's got enough speed and enough offensive talent where he should start to dominate. Yeah. But that's kind of what I look for when I think somebody should then start being discussed to be brought up. Unless they're just a Landon Slaggard who you're bringing up to play, a bottom 6 role anyways. But we've got a team full of bottom 6ers.
Speaking of, no. We're not discrediting Landon Slaggard like that. Because speaking of Landon Slaggard, the man of Tuesday's game, the unsung hero of Tuesday's game. Because, yes, Doc had 2 goals. Yes, NASCAR had 2 goals. But you know who basically set up most of those goals? Landon Slaggard. The man.
Did you watch any of last night's game?
I watched all of it because I couldn't watch Anaheim's game because I'm poor.
Okay, I have questions.
What questions?
Were the 3 kids put back together? NASCAR, Slaggard, and Doc?
For part.
Okay.
Part of it, not all of it.
Yeah, that's something I would like to see completed. I would really enjoy to see a kids line and then a veteran line and then your third line from the coaching staff.
Yeah, not all of it. There were definitely some times when Senny was put up with the kids and Landon was with the veterans. It was a little bit of a scramble, but for the goals, yes, you had the kid line.
Yeah, I think that's something that needs to stay together if possible. So.
Yeah, big fan of that. We had Weeks again in net. It was a very slow start for Artie, very slow start for Isaac Phillips. The unsung hero, Landon Slaggard. I mean, yes, Rockford won, but also Texas just looked bad last night. But a win is a win. My third line was put back together. Thank goodness. And I know some people may say, why is Anders Sorensen putting 3 rookies together on the same line? That's ridiculous. They've been running that line since 2022 development camp. It works. Luke's been running it. Derek King's been running it. Sorensen's been running it. Whoever's been there coaching the 3 of them has been running that line. That is a line that has been kind of on and off together for a while. Sorry.
Yeah.
And my third line is the best line.
Yeah, that's a really attacking and aggressive line that, I see no reason why you wouldn't keep them together. There's a little bit of everything.
It was they definitely have scrambled a little bit. Sometimes they'll put Sanford up in the center position or Kate's in the center position. I do pose a question to you now for Rockford. Because we have a lot of guys in college right now that maybe are in their junior year or their final year. Do you see some of the college guys that are not your Oliver Moore, your Boisvert, your recent picks, maybe they were drafted by the old regime, coming to Rockford kind of just for the intent of being in Rockford and maybe having less veterans next year? Or do you kind of see this same sort of thing happening next year?
No, I believe the plan, which we're not really allowed to talk about or know the exact plan, but we'll know when it's done. Yes, this magical plan. No one knows my plan, but there's a plan.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, I think you've got Cini, you've got Gut Punch, you've got these guys showing them the way. You then turn it around to younger and younger kids.
Okay.
You're still going to need a couple veterans, but that is it. Yeah. Right now, you're still you have 2 veteran lines and 2 kid lines.
More or less.
So, yeah, I'd like to see that down to 1 veteran line and 3 kid lines.
That's what the more that I see guys like Aiden Thompson or even Ryan Green, who maybe aren't at the forefront of everybody's mind when it comes to prospects or even college prospects that we have, but they're playing fairly well consistently for the past couple of years at the collegiate level. Would it benefit them to just come to Rockford?
Yeah. Again, they're college players, so the first thing you got to do is sign them. You got to make a decision if you want to sign them.
Yeah.
There's only so many signees that you're allowed to get.
Right.
I think it's 50. I think we're still way low on that number.
Yeah.
That are actually signed. So, yeah, if it's me, yeah, this team is even younger next year. But I'm expecting more out of Savoie, Ledwinski. Odds are good. You figure maybe NASCAR's up with the big team. I expect Doc to get a complete look at the end of the season. So, I mean, if I'm looking at anybody down there that I want brought up to the big club, it is Doc.
Yeah.
So that's just because he's hopefully will bring something that this team is lacking.
Yeah.
And that's it's like right here, and it's a thing that beats. But he's at least got some heart, and some aggression, and he's going to stick his nose in there. So I might start tooting for him to be up with the big club. So, but yeah, I think younger is better. Excellent.
So much about Rockford this week, but it's fine because really we don't have that much positive to report on at the big kid level.
No, we do not.
Guys, we lost a lot. There were some that we should have won. There's definitely some where we had the lead for a while, and then we kind of crapped the bed because our head coach really is, as he told the media, he's basically run out of ideas and doesn't know what to do. That's really not what you want to hear from the head coach, even if you're like me and you just really want him gone. It's still not a great thing to hear. Got Seth Jones out for a while, so maybe the Seth Jones hate will just be less in the building, and maybe Crusty old guy won't fight people as much or want to fight people as much because he won't be there. But guys, it's looking real bad.
I don't know. I guaranteed 2 victories in the last 2 games because I said our biggest problem, the only major flaw with this team is injured now. How does this team not just win all the time?
Yeah,
everybody's told me.
Proves the point that Seth Jones is not the problem.
No, Seth Jones is the problem. So I figured without him. Yeah. And then somebody posted on my message board exactly the Hawks record when Seth Jones doesn't play. And can you believe they're even worse?
Yeah. I believe that was Ben that tweeted that out.
Yes. I don't know how much you even want to talk about this. I'm not in the mood.
You're not in the mood? Do you have anything on the Seattle game? Nothing really?
There was a lot of doing nothing.
That's what we do best.
You had one goal scored, and of course, by the guy who scores the goal, you make sure to put him on the fourth line because your leading goal scorer is Donato, and yet he doesn't get to play on the top line.
This doesn't make sense. Luke doesn't make sense.
Again, they're
I don't
playing.
get it. Do you get it?
I get part of it.
Why?
He's just trying to find something
But
in an infindable world.
Things, or even if they don't work, just keep them for a couple more games.
Yeah, I think that's been the one thing everybody's screaming about now is make a decision and kind of keep everything together. You're gonna now start to play 4 games in a week. There's no practice time anymore. Okay, there's a game, there's a flight, there's trying to get some rest in another game. Once you start talking about four games in 7 days, practice is irrelevant. You do some pregame skates, that's it. You do a little film time. So you're not even going to have any practice to kind of get these guys to gel together. So he needs to shit or get off the pot. I will give you that.
I think my other biggest issue, sorry, I got a lot of issues with Luke this week, shocker, to maybe communicate to your players. I mean, that's an issue because there was a lack of communication regarding regarding Luke and a certain guy that was healthy scratched for one of the games. Yeah.
This is pretty simple. Unless your name was Seth Jones, Jason Dickinson, or Vlasic, you all can be scratched. There's not another player on that team that should be surprised that they were scratched. The fact that Taylor Hall had the gall, see how I did Hall and gall?
Yeah.
To say he was shocked, there's nobody on that team that should be shocked. Khrushchev, the way he has had one good game since he's been back, he shouldn't be shocked if he's sat. The only other one maybe in that ballpark would be Donato. Even your captain shouldn't be shocked if he's sat.
Yeah, bench the captain. I'm for it.
Yeah, I heard that Luke backpedaled and said he needs to communicate. Luke does not have to communicate. That's a 32-year-old grown man who's been in the league for 12 years. He doesn't know that he's playing like shit. That's the frightening part. That man doesn't know he's playing like crap. Taylor, pretty simple for me. You want to earn something from me? Once. I'd like you, instead of skating the puck on down, take a left into the middle of the ice instead of a right to the boards. Just do that once for me and I'll applaud. Sorry, I didn't know you were going to bring that up, but yeah,
I had to.
I heard that and I was unbelievably shocked because I don't see how anybody on that team would be in shock that they were benched. There's nobody. That goes for the beacon of hope. If he wasn't such a beacon of hope, I guarantee he'd be in the press box.
Which I mean, and we even saw Philly do that with a guy that draft pick year as well. They were scratching Mitchkov for a couple of games. Came back and scored a little bit, but I'm all for it. Bench everyone.
Yeah, but that coach is an idiot.
So is ours.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole thing. No, there doesn't need to be communication. You're the worst team in the league. It's about time you guys started to own that. It wasn't owned last year. No. This is a veteran-laden team, and you're the worst team in the league. So yes, you're below San Jose. You're below Anaheim by a good stretch. Nobody should be safe. So the Seattle game just kind of went. The Vancouver game kind of went.
Yeah. I will say for the Vancouver game, yes, we are the worst team in the league. Yes, it's all pretty bad. Yes, we did lose. But I would like to give Arvid Soderblom a little bit of credit, seeing as we're one of the few people that do. Win or loss, he is looking better than he did last year. Last year was pretty bad. So it's
No,
not that big of a jump, but I will say he is looking quite a bit better than his performance last season.
no, and no, the blooms look great. He looks solid. Whenever the Frenchman gets back, that should be a nice.
Kyle, maybe you should, know if somebody's going to be gone for who knows how long, because not only is it messing up Chicago, but it's also messing up Rockford, and it's also messing up Indy, because as we learned from our insider, one of our favorite people down at the Indy Fuel, their top goaltender went to go play overseas. So since Weeks can't be down at Indy, they don't have anybody. So with this one signing, Kyle, you've messed up 3 different teams.
Right, and that's bad, and what you've done for Rockford is just bad.
Yeah.
Again, I've been told we'd be transparent. I haven't heard any kind of transparency on the Frenchman. I don't know what the heck's going on. I really haven't heard a timetable for Seth.
Wait. We did get a timetable. Keep talking. We did get a timetable.
I don't know. Somebody ended up texting me back on that whatever blue thing is, and they heard 4 weeks. So
yes, the Laz, the only man that is, or one of the only 2 men that gives us transparency when it comes to the Blackhawk administration.
So where were we? And again, the Vancouver game, you weren't blown out. The difference from last year to this year is I haven't been at a game yet and just started to laugh at how bad the play is. I guess that's a plus. But we're still the worst team. So I can't quite tolerate that people don't understand that they're the worst team. I can't quite tolerate that I have Tyler Bertuzzi, who's supposed to be this agitator, that I don't see agitating anyone except me. And I mean, you look at your 2 signings, you have Tavo and Bertuzzi. They have a combined 5 points if you take away their power play work. 5 points in almost 20 games. That's not good.
No.
That's definitely not good. I don't want to rant. I can. We can go to the Ducks game last night, and we had talked in depth in the last month about the Dick and why he wasn't put with the Beacon of Hope, and that finally happened. And with that, Dickinson gets 2 goals. The Beacon of Hope kind of gets off of his schneid with 2 assists. But now what do they do? We've talked to your listeners about Dickinson fills a specific role of being a shutdown center. They played Anaheim, who doesn't have a high-powered offense. It's kind of just an average offense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So they were able to put Connor Bedard and Dickinson against Carlson and Zegras. What do you do tomorrow night? Do you put it against Huberdeau and Matthew Tkachuk? Do you put the Beacon of Hope through that? I can't give an answer for that. If it's me, I'd like to shelter him. Or maybe, hey, this is year number 2 in the league. Just throw him into the fire and let him deal with it. But that's the problem. You all of a sudden don't have the matchup unless you're saying the Beacon of Hope is part of the shutdown group. I just don't see that.
I don't see that, but I especially don't see that against Florida. As much as I am anxiously awaiting for that game, it is going to be bad. It is going to be very, very bad.
Yeah, I'm just not sure of that. This is a bad team. We've gone over and over most of this episode on this, but every time I think that's going to happen this year,
then we beat Minnesota.
This team shows up. I mean, the thing is they don't get blown out anymore. So I think they're very worried about being embarrassed. And
they're already embarrassed. If they're not already embarrassed, it's concerning.
Right, but I think it's two different things. Last year, you were embarrassed during the game. You spent the third period with your head down, and you didn't even want to look the other team in the eyes because you were such a pushover. Where the games now, they're at least in there. If there's a couple breaks here or there, they could make some noise. So I'm with you that tomorrow night's game should get ugly. But every time I've thought that this year, this team has shown up and played a very structured, safe game. So again, that's what I'm hoping for. But I don't know what Luke does if he decides to keep Dickinson and Bedard together and move Bedard to the wing. I don't think that's a long-term solution. Mm-hmm. I think no matter what, even if you think Bedard's a winger, as I've said many times, I want him playing center this whole year because I think it does nothing but mature him to play center over a wing. And we don't care about wins and losses yet. So I don't know what they do for tomorrow night. It was great to see Dickinson rip some really good shots in. And again, you knew they were going to lose. And the lack of fire in the third period, I believe they were like 12 minutes in and they had 3 shots on goal in the third. I hate to ever say no heart because they're hockey players. They all got hurt.
Their heart is on injured reserve currently.
But I know it's not that. I respect the people who play the game way too much to say that. But let me just put it that something's lacking.
Yeah.
Number one is that player to pull the team into the fight, which we've mentioned many times. I need somebody like that here. Again, that's why I probably will start to trumpet Doc. I need somebody to get the other team angry just to see if we can't pick up our game. I'm a firm believer that's Bertuzzi's job. And that then comes back to coaching where I believe Luke has to tell him, listen, I need the animal guy from 2 years ago because I need that guy for this team now. But who knows? Again, they were up in the Anaheim game and then squandered that lead. And oh, well. So there, I talked too long on it, but I was able to get some things off my chest. I feel much better. This has been very therapeutic. I'd like to thank your listeners.
It's the point of a podcast is, it's real just therapy.
It's all about me. Yeah.
It's all about Crusty.
That's right. All about Crusty all the time.
Yeah. Tomorrow should be interesting.
Oh, tomorrow will be great. You might as well expound to your fan base exactly what you do for your whole Tomo Rutu game.
Guys, get this one game of the year. So, for those who have not listened since the beginning of this podcast, there was a player. There was a man long before Patrick Kane, not too long, but long before, by the name of Tomo Rutu. He was picked 9th overall in 2001 and played for the Chicago Blackhawks. He is the reason that I am as lunatic nuts as I am. He's the reason that I got into hockey, aside from Crusty. Dale Talon trading him to the Carolina Hurricanes when I was in middle school was the first real heartbreak of my life. And so he bounced around a little bit, ended his career, was a part of the Rangers organization, a huge part in the New York Rangers acquiring Capo Kakko and drafting him was because they had Tomo Rutu. He was one of their international scouts, specifically in Finland, and then joined the Panthers organization. He is one of the assistant coaches. He is a Stanley Cup champion, finally. And so I go down for warm-ups every time because it's Rutu. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, it gets a little weird and a little kooky. He's been able to laugh at us the last couple times. So it's so bad that actually he's noticing. So it becomes a bonding thing, as you stated. So, but it's always the most important game for the Hockey Princess.
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer for most. There's the running joke of most female hockey fans. There is a fourth liner that she fell in love with that got her into hockey, and that's true too for me. So yeah, Florida should be a very fun game. Win or loss, Route 2's in the building, and that's all that matters to me. Got anything else for this week?
I don't have anything else. I'd like to be more prepared. We still babbled for an hour, so I don't. Really glad that all of you
Can you
stayed
imagine how
here. And
long it would be if you had notes?
yes, yeah, maybe we're better off just me not taking notes, or maybe I'd be better organized. I don't know.
We will never know. Just as a reminder, make
But
sure to hit that
I
like.
have this cool microphone.
Yes, you have the
Look
cool.
at this cool microphone. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Just as a reminder, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or whichever platform you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis about. If you are going to a game this season, wait for the whistle. Do not get up while the puck's in play. That is all, and we will talk at you guys next week.